This guy has been talking about getting brown people out of the country, and I'll just say it, since he was 16 years old. The government is not helping you here. Like, they're not trying to give you information to help you understand. They're actually actively trying to screw you. This is intentional. They're using the H-1B withdrawal notice process to trigger NTAs, notwithstanding what the person did.
It's not mandatory that you will get that 60 days grace period.
One spouse with the H-1B and the other one, the wife, is in immigration court now because of that small mistake. The status was expiring. They tried to file the extension. It was kicked back. Status expired. NTA issued immediately. And in that case, a person's out of status and she's outside the U.S. and she might be barred from coming back for 5 years now because she left the U.S. with an active NTA. L1 notification triggered an NTA. We're actively advising companies, like, stop notifying the government about L1, TN, O1, right? Withdrawals. You don't need to do those. Just H1. I want to be clear. You cannot prevent an NTA. All you can do is to take steps to help protect yourself in case you get one.
At what point someone should consult a lawyer? You said cases are getting dismissed. How does that happen? And the biggest no, if you received NTA, don't leave United States.
Correct.
Samir, notice to appear in immigration court is just crazy right now, and it's increasing. We don't know what's happening, who's at risk. I thought it was only H-1B, but now it sounds like more people are getting affected than just H-1B. But I'm glad that we are shooting this so that we can help. And I know we always do this on Wednesday, but we're doing this separate for people to help. So if you can do a quick intro before we get started into like what's happening in NTA world.
Yeah, we can call this a special NTA emergency podcast because it's kind of an emergency.
Yeah.
So, well, I think it probably, like, we've talked off and on about this kind of ad hoc and almost like have not given the context, right, of what's been happening. So I think this is a good time to kind of step back for a second and understand what is happening. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
Right. And it starts with, number one, Trump was elected. Okay. That is number one. Obviously, the first step in this whole process. Why does that matter? This is not a political podcast. This is just reality, right? Trump hired his deputy chief of staff is Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is kind of like the dark prophet of immigration. He's very smart. And understands the inner workings of the government, including USCIS, and has a very exclusionary immigration ideology. Going back, do your own research on him. This guy has been talking about getting brown people out of the country, and I'll just say it, since he was 16 years old. Okay? So this is a person who is in charge of not just immigration. Honestly, he's running the administration for Trump right now. He's pretty much he's a deputy chief of staff, but he's really the chief of staff, right? So that's the context.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the reality of what we're dealing with. Okay.
Right.
So in February, USCIS issued a memo, a policy memo called the NTA memo. Okay. We thought nothing of it at the time because the NTAs are notices to appear in immigration court, and they're quite common for those that are without status. Like if you're illegally here or you run out of status and you overstay, like you've always been at risk of getting these to go to immigration court. That's just always been the process. And the way this memo read, it read like it was just confirming that. Okay. So we were kind of like, okay. It kind of has always gone without saying that you could end up in immigration court if you don't have any status, right? This memo is just basically formalizing that. Fine. That's fair. It is what it is. Not a great deal, but not a big deal, right? Then, step 3, in March, I think it was March, USCIS archived a webpage, and this webpage was the one that was up during the Biden administration. If you remember all the layoffs that occurred in 23, 24, and 22 too as well, where people were running out of losing their H-1B jobs. Hitting the grace periods, but 2 months not enough to find a job. USCIS basically came out and said, under the Biden administration, if you change to B1, B2, it's possible, assuming you otherwise qualify for that once you get an H-1B job, you can change back to H-1B after that through a pending B1, B2, right?
Yeah.
They archived that webpage that explained that. So I was like, what's happening there? Are they going to stop allowing that? We still didn't put 2 and 2 together. And then
And they never
what happened?
explained anything after the archival.
No explanations, nothing. This is all just kind of very happening very surreptitiously,
Mm,
right? Yeah.
mm,
Okay. And it is the signature of this administration of Stephen Miller to play it like that. Okay.
mm,
He's not. They're not going to be giving information. I want people to understand the government is not helping you here. Like they're not trying to give you information to help you understand things. Okay. They're actually actively trying to screw you at this point.
mm,
Actively. Okay.
mm,
And to throw chaos and confusion and fear into the system
mm,
in a cruel way. This is intentional. Okay.
mm.
So I'm not trying to be dramatic. I think we all can see this at this point, hopefully. Right.
Yeah.
But I want people to understand now this is happening in the H1B world. And
Mm,
you are no longer immune from any of that. You are now
mm,
part of it. You're in it.
mm,
Okay. So and that's the point of this podcast, right? So now fast forward to June, people started getting NTAs after they were laid off from their H1B job and the company withdrew their H1B.
mm,
Companies have to withdraw H1Bs. They're required to. When? The rules say immediately, but honestly, they sometimes they wait 1, 2, 3 months. It just, it is what it is. There's the administrative aspect of doing so, and sometimes there are delays. And that was problematic. And that's when we started seeing, oh, God, this is what they're doing.
mm,
Okay. They're using the H1B withdrawal notice process, okay,
mhm,
to trigger NTAs, notwithstanding what the person did. And we were confused. Like, there's a grace period. Like, why are they issuing NTAs? The grace period says they can remain in status, but the grace period is discretionary. It's
mm.
always the government's always given the discretion to use it. But if there's an administration that's going to take it away, it's going to be this one, right? So
So
we
it's
started.
not mandatory that you will get that 60 days
It's
grace
not
period.
mandatory. It's always been the case, but if you look at the exact language of the grace period regulations, it does say that USCIS has a discretion to not award it to people.
Mm, mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's basically where we're at. We putting two and two together. Like these NTAs started coming in June,
Mhm.
and now we're kind of in the thick of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned H1Bs. Are those the only folks who are getting NTAs, or are now
Yeah.
other visa categories are also getting it?
Yeah. And
Basically, who's at risk is at this point?
yeah. Well, okay. So, and let's kind of be clear about the uh, purpose of this particular podcast
Mhm,
is to talk about the business immigration world, right?
mhm,
H1Bs or even student F1s,
mhm.
H1Bs, work-based immigration.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're talking about here.
Mhm.
That February memo I talked about all the other people that can get NTAs, and that's kind of outside the scope of this conversation. People
Right.
who've
Yeah.
run out of TPS and
Yeah.
humanitarian parole, and that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So here in the work-based immigration world and kind of in the related world, okay, initially we're like, oh, it's H-1Bs because it's triggered by the company withdrawing the H-1B. So we're like, okay, so that's how they're identifying. Okay.
Mm,
But since then, we've seen examples of other types of NTAs that are
mm,
problematic. One example was somebody who was on a derivative, like let's say you had an H4 visa, okay,
mhm,
and let's say somebody files, like your H1B files an extension for you,
mm,
so the H1B files an extension for themselves and the H4, right? Just as the H4 is about to expire,
mm,
right? But the H4 was rejected, meaning like it was filed incorrectly with USCIS.
mm,
Okay, this is a dependent now. Okay,
mm.
H1B was accepted and approved.
Right.
H4 was rejected, and that triggered an NTA for the H4. So now we have like one spouse with the H1B, and the other one, the wife, is in immigration court now because of that small mistake. So that was another example of a trigger. Like, oh my God,
Mm,
the status was expiring. They tried to file the extension. It was kicked back. Status expired. NTA issued immediately. So, and in
mm.
that case, a person's out of status.
Yeah.
So, okay, so
Mm,
that's problematic. Another case is somebody who, um, uh, and I think it might have even been a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, but the parents came, like mother came to visit them,
mhm,
visit the grandchildren, right? Stayed the full 6 months and needed a couple more months. Okay, so the son dutifully applied for a B2 extension here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
for 3 months, asked for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the expiration of that initial B2
Mm-hmm.
triggered an NTA, notwithstanding the fact that there was um, an
Extension
extension
file.
filed on a
Mm.
timely basis because they
Mm.
didn't look when they're issuing NTAs, they're not looking to see what you've done most of the time. They're just like
Mm.
expiration NTA.
Yeah,
That's
it's
kind
like
of
a
that's,
trigger,
we'll
and it's just yeah,
figure and let the courts figure it out.
yeah,
Okay, on
yeah.
purpose, like I said. So and so this poor woman got an NTA, but right around the 3 month mark,
Mm.
and she had to leave for the B because the B2 status that she requested was coming to an end. The
Mm.
minute you get an NTA, you cannot leave, but she didn't know that,
Mm.
right? We talked to her after we talked to them afterwards, and she left, and now she's got an NTA, and she's
Mm.
outside the U.S. and she might be barred from coming back for 5 years now because she left the U.S. with an active NTA, right?
Oh.
So these are all three very normal circumstances that have happened where people who are all law abiding, always trying to do the right thing, and
Mm.
now are getting thrown into immigration court. And this is really, really scary.
Mm. Mm. And so if people are getting laid off, or in some cases we've seen that in our live sessions where they kind of get this ahead notice that hey, there might be layoff, they might be on,
Mhm.
you know, on that list, maybe they have 2 weeks before that. What basically options do they have if they are laid off?
Yeah. So let's talk about, by the way, there's one more example I want to talk about before and I'll get to it. One company laid off its employees and they laid off their L1 employees too.
Hmm.
And they notified the government about L1, about the L1. And they're actually not required to do that. It's just a standard practice, very conservatively to like let the government know I'm no longer employing this L1, but there's actually no explicit requirement to. But the L1
Hmm.
notification triggered an NTA. Okay,
Hmm.
so we're actively advising companies like stop notifying the government about L1, TN, O1,
Hmm.
right? Withdrawals. You don't need to do those. Just H1B. Okay. Now, to answer your question, it's mostly happening still for H1B workers. Obviously, it's the highest percentage of work visa holders in the
Yeah.
country. Of those, I think 70% are Asian, Indian, and Chinese.
Hmm.
Right. So, and not that that matters to that, but it's going back to my original statement about why is this really happening.
Hmm.
Okay. But it's the vast majority of individuals who are on work visas are on H1B. Okay.
Hmm.
So the first step, if you know you're going to get laid off, we know that the only way that you'll get an NTA is if the government knows your status is coming to an end. How will they know? Your I-94 is not expiring. It's because of the H1B withdrawal from the company,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So talk to your company. Companies know. We've been trying really, really hard now to spread the word and to like get the word out to companies to let them know this is happening now. So hopefully a lot of law firms and their companies know that these withdrawals are triggering NTAs. Now, ultimately they have to withdraw, that they're required to, but maybe they can wait 60 days from the date of the termination,
Hmm.
right? Which is the grace period of
Hmm.
your H1B, right? To
Hmm.
do so. So the first thing I would do is like feel like you're allowed to ask that
Hmm.
question.
Hmm.
Okay. Ask, when are you going to withdraw the H1B? I'm concerned about NTAs.
Hmm.
Okay. Can you wait for 60 days after my last day of employment to withdraw the H1B?
Yeah.
Okay. So and why do I say that? Because now, fast forward, I'm in court now. I'm taking people to court. We've gotten 3 cases dismissed so far. The first 3, knock on wood. About to get a 4th one, even though we had a contentious hearing. The immigration judges, they don't understand H1B law. They've never seen H1Bs.
Hmm.
Like they don't have grace periods, H4. It's like they've never had to deal with this before. So they're really, really new to this. Okay.
Hmm.
We've had to really educate them about it. And even then, this is just one of several thousands of cases they're handling, right? So they barely have any time to think about this and look at this. And the way they're interpreting, what you can do to keep yourself safe is, are you taking whatever step you have to take to keep yourself in status before the H-1B is withdrawn. Not have you done that within the grace period. They don't care about the grace period. They care about the sequence of events, right? And in their minds, once the H-1B is withdrawn, you're out of status. It's not necessarily true, but that's how they're interpreting it. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's why it's important. Try to get the company to push out the withdrawal date, because then that'll give you time to take whatever like remedial or mitigating steps you can take to protect yourself.
Right.
I want to be clear. You cannot prevent an NTA.
Yeah.
You can't do it, right? There's nothing you can do. All you can do is to take steps to help protect yourself in case you get one, to give yourself a good case in court. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the step one, is to ask company to push it a little bit back. They're buying some time. During this time, can they find another job and do the
What's
transfer?
step two? That's a personal kind of strategy. Okay, that really depends on a whole set of factors that are personal to you as an individual, right? The best case, if I had to kind of like prioritize, if like in order of operations, which is like the strongest versus the weakest, okay, I would say the strongest is an H-1B transfer filed before you even left your company, okay, possibly at least before the H-1B is withdrawn, and hopefully approved, okay. H-1B transfer is the strongest. Okay.
Is it possible to get it transferred and approved within 60 days?
First, if it's filed within the first couple of weeks of your grace period, then yeah, it is.
Okay. Got it.
It's very rare because, like, I mean, the reality is, if you're getting laid off, you have very little notice, and then you have to scramble to find a job. Like, who's going to find a job within a week in this market? So I understand that, but I'm just trying to kind of provide, in theory, what are the kind of best to worst, strongest to weakest, right? The next would be probably, like, let's say you can't do an H-1B. I would say either, like, it really depends on I would say leaving the U.S. Okay. I'm not saying it's always possible to do so. People have homes, they have kids, they have all sorts of things going on. It's not fair to expect that. I'm just in a vacuum, just telling you what will protect you the most is leaving the U.S. Okay. And either coming back like as an H-4, for example, or doing your job search from back home and coming back in with your H-1B, right? Assuming you have a stamp. Now, do you have a stamp? That's a whole question. Like, these are all these different complications, right? There's no right answer. But if you leave the U.S. before the NTA is issued, okay, not after, before, then you're not, then you can just, if you get an NTA for some reason, you can easily dismiss it because you weren't even here. Okay. Right. And you came back in a valid status. So then after that, I would say probably changing to H-4 here in the US, which is not great. And in fact, I'm working on a case right now for somebody who notified their employer they resigned from their job with a future resign date because they're pregnant and saying, hey, I'm going to leave. I want to go to H-4 to have my baby. And they applied for H-4 timely, and they still got the NTA.
Wow. Okay.
So do you understand? Like, but applying to H-4 timely, okay, meaning before, definitely within the grace period, hopefully before the H-1Bs were drawn, before the NTA is issued, right? Is pretty good, but not great because they're not approved right away, right? They're in this pending status. And here is the problem, right? When you have a pending application, you're not in status. You're in a period of authorized stay. And it's a gray area as to whether or not that is actually okay. It's always been, from a policy perspective, it's always been okay, right? But there's actually no rule that says that. If you look at the rules, it's a policy. And Stephen Miller is trying to erode that policy. That he's trying to chip away at that policy and actually say being in a period of stay as opposed to a status is analogous to being without status. That's what he's trying to say. And now we're in this position where we're going to each court and trying to convince them that it's okay to be in this period of stay. And
Mm.
now it's going to be up to each individual judge to make that decision.
Mm. Mm.
Okay?
So some judge could be okay with it and some won't.
Yeah. And in fact, I think I haven't seen it, but I've heard of a judge who was not okay with it,
Mm.
right? Because now we're talking about different judges in different courts in different parts of the country,
Mm.
right? Every judge has their own. Are they conservative? Are they liberal? Are they it's throwing a lot of kind of unpredictability and
Mm.
confusion
And
and just kind of
H4 can't be
ambiguous.
premium processed, correct?
It cannot be. No,
Mm.
no. Now, in some cases, it kind of can be if the H1B is premium processed and the H4 is filed alongside it. Sometimes they're premium processed,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a very rare occurrence. In most cases, the H1Bs don't even need to file; they're in status already. So
Yeah. Yeah.
what
But
are
in
they
the
going
case of two H1B spouses,
to do?
like one loses the job, wants to go on to another, like H1Bs, like as
They
an H.
can't. They can't premium process that. They just have to file for a change of status online,
Yeah.
and that's taken like 6 months,
Mm.
right? So now we're sitting here in this position of, a pending case for 6 months,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And having to explain to a judge, well, that's equivalent to having status. It doesn't always. It may not always work,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So
Yeah. So, and then the last one, I'm assuming, is B1, B2 from a risk.
yes, yes. So down there that I didn't even mention it, but yes, thank you for reminding me. That is something you could do. Okay. I have heard of people who have filed for B1, B2 and pending B1, B2 cases and got NTAs and had to go to court and got their cases dismissed. Okay.
Okay.
But it's also really dependent on a lot of factors on the judge and on how much time do you have left on your B2 request, right?
Mm.
How like persuasive is it going to be to a judge that you
Mm.
actually are going to get status here? I
Mm.
would say a pending B1, B2 is possible, but it's the riskiest of all the alternatives.
Mm.
Okay, and everyone's going to have to make a decision now. What are they going to do? There's and almost every one of my consultations, people are so frustrated now with this, obviously, and understandably, they're like, "Samir, just tell me what to do." I'm like, I can't tell you what to do because there's like it's a spectrum of stuff, and none of these are perfect,
Yeah.
solutions.
And there are so many variables that you
And
don't
there are
know.
variables
Yeah.
that have to do with what are your priorities personally, right?
Mm.
Is it easier for you to just to get up and leave the U.S.? Well, then maybe that'll inform your answer. Is it
Mm.
impossible for you to get up and leave the U.S.?
Mm.
Do you have a possible job lined up? How long do you think it's going to take you to get a job? Like these are all different factors that kind of go into what decision you have to make.
Mm.
So it's a very personal decision.
At what point someone should consult a lawyer? Like, should they
We're
consult?
talking to a lot of people who are just worried about layoffs.
Mm.
I mean, I honestly, I think, if you are worried about a layoff and you're kind of worried about your job security, now is the time to start planning. What
Mm.
are you going to do in case it happens?
Mm.
Right. So we're talking to people kind of as early as that stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they receive a NTA, they absolutely have to have a lawyer to represent them.
I mean, there's never a requirement to have a lawyer. I would say it's probably suicide not to have one because it's uh, obviously I'm a lawyer, so I'm like, yeah, hire us. Like that's not what I mean. How are you supposed to know what to do? Like I've been doing this for 20 something years, and there's lots of lawyers actually who do H1Bs who don't even understand how to practice in immigration court. A
Mm.
lot of lawyers don't know how to practice in immigration court, right?
Mm.
And then the problem is the lawyers that know how to practice in immigration court, they don't know how to they don't know how to argue on behalf of H1B holders because they
Mm.
don't know H1B law,
Mm.
right? So it's kind of like, so it's hard enough to be a lawyer to do this,
Yeah.
much less have no kind of legal background and
Mm.
understand how to work through the procedure and all the requirements and
Yeah.
rules and file motions and all these things.
Yeah. And I know, obviously, you and your team has been helping people already about this. And I think you mentioned 3 cases were dismissed already. Uh, I probably want to go there, but I also want to let people know that I'll put the link in the description if they want to reach out to you or your team in this, job security situation, or if they've received NTAs, etc. But what's happening in the court? Like, so, like you said, cases are getting dismissed. How does that happen? Like, what's the process look like, and like, what do you do to defend it?
Yeah. So in most cases, first of all, make sure you're checking to see if you have an NTA.
Mm.
Okay. I think I've sent you the link. If not, we'll give you the link. Yudi. There's a, it's just Google EOIR case status.
Yeah.
Okay. And enter your A number to see if there's an NTA. Right.
Mm.
And so if there's an NTA, there's going to be a court hearing date in the location. Okay. You have to attend this hearing. Okay.
Yeah.
Ideally, before the hearing, you've retained a lawyer, and the lawyers advised you, hopefully, will be filing what's called a motion to terminate on your behalf.
Mm.
Okay. A motion to terminate is like the immigration court equivalent of dismiss this case.
Mm.
Okay. And the reason why we would file a motion to terminate is to tell the court, you're saying our client's removable. They're not. They're in status, or they have a
Mm.
pending case. Like, you're crazy, right?
Mm.
And that has been the basis for the 3 terminations. I call them dismissals, but terminations
Mm.
is a technically correct word that we have had so far.
Mm.
Okay. The first one is was somebody who was in H4 status, pending H4.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
And the government actually opposed our motion and said, no, they're not in status. They should be deported. This is a person who has been here working for top big tech companies who changed to H4 because they got laid off, or
Yeah.
actually wanted to leave the company, take a break,
Mm.
and then spend a few months looking for a new job,
Mm.
and then start with another company.
Mm.
And they applied for H4, right? And then they got to NTA. And so the judge threw that case out.
Mm.
Okay. Another one was somebody who had an H-1B transfer filed within the grace period,
Mm.
but after the withdrawal.
Mm.
So, but in the grace period. And the judge threw that case out. That was in
And
Dallas.
when you say just
Uh,
to the case out, like, is this like where you went in the court and appeared and explained it, or did you just
yeah.
happen to
In
notice it?
some cases, the correspondence happens in writing, as in the first case.
Mm.
In some cases, I actually appeared, in this case virtually, because it was in Dallas, and
Oh, so
argued
you
the
can
case.
appear anywhere virtually, like not necessarily.
Usually you can. It depends on the court and the judge.
Okay.
Every judge, every court has a capability to have attorneys appear via WebEx, but they have their procedures and their rules as to whether or not they actually would allow it. So most do, but you have to give the judge, and in most cases, you have to give the judge some proper notice of at least 15 days.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, you can argue the case in the hearing. In one case, I actually, the third case, this was the L1,
Mm.
who applied to H4 as soon as she was, laid off. H4 was approved.
Oh,
By the
okay.
way, H4 was approved by California Service Center. By the way, California Service Center also issued the NTA. So like, it's like they have one hand does not know what the other hand's doing. You understand?
Wow.
Um, in that case, the government lawyer was like, I'm not even opposing this. And that was in San Diego.
Mm.
And because the government lawyer didn't oppose it, the judge just dismissed the case before the hearing.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so many differences here, like so many different ways this can go depending on the jurisdiction and the
Yeah.
judge and the circumstances,
Yeah.
right? In an area that we found largely to be kind of predictable and uniform, has now been thrown into chaos.
Yeah.
So
And the biggest no is if you received NTA, don't leave United States.
correct, because if you have no other recourse, okay, you have an NTA and you have no other like reason to tell the judge, I should be able to stay here, terminate this case. At the very worst, you can request voluntary departure. Voluntary departure is permission from the court to leave on your own.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
like I would like to, with dignity, leave this country. Here are my plane tickets. Please okay it. And in almost every case, the judge will agree. Okay, it's within the interest of the government, the judge, everybody,
Yeah.
for that to happen.
Yeah.
And if you claim voluntary departure and they approve it, then you're not going to have accrued unlawful presence in the
Mm.
U.S.,
Mm.
which is great,
Mm.
right? So there's always, at the very worst, there's always a way out, which is to leave the U.S. But that's, like sitting here, it's so easy for us to say that. Oh, you
Yeah.
can just
Yeah.
leave the problem, right? People's lives are here. Like the amount of stress, like Can you imagine telling an American just leave the U.S.?
Mm.
They're gonna say, I can't have this, have this, have this. Well, it's the same, with H-1B holders. It's very, very difficult
Yeah,
to
some
pass
people
the
have
ladder.
cars, loans, mortgage, maybe. So
Homes, kids, schools,
yeah.
health, um, all these different things that are happening that we all face.
Mm.
But legally speaking, that is your kind of get out of jail free card if it comes down to it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what's next? Like what do you see? Like what is this gonna impact long term?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're dealing with, okay, let's say we're getting cases dismissed. Case dismissed is great. We're yet to see or yet to understand the full magnitude of the second order implications that are going to come out of this. Okay.
Mm.
Once again, this is all intentional. Okay. And this is all this has been thought through by the powers that be. Okay. And the government. But what happens if you have an NTA? You get dismissed, great. You're free. That's awesome. However, every time you go visa stamp now, you have to on your DS 160 report this because there's a question that asks about this. Have
Mm.
you ever been in removal proceedings? You have to answer yes if you've had an NTA.
Oh.
Even if you got the case dismissed, you have to answer yes. So as we know, answering yes to those security questions, which is where this question appears, almost always triggers a separate process, right?
Mm.
It makes the interview process harder, right?
Mm.
It might result in 221Gs,
Mm.
possibly even denials from consular officers that don't understand what they're looking at,
Mm.
right? Because it's so weird and so different, right?
Mm.
So it's going to throw a wrench into the visa stamping process for a lot of people. And then, of course, how is this going to appear on their records, right, for reentry? What is CBP going to see when you enter? They're going to see you are in removal proceedings. Are they going to give you the second and third degree? Right? Are
Mm.
they going to let you in the country? People are going to have to, have their termination orders with them. They're going to have to learn how to speak to this
Mm.
and convince these scary officers about what happened. Tell them what happened and convince them that they have right to come in. It's it's going to cause a lot of chaos and difficulties for travelers.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't know yet, but these are some of the things we could think of. But yeah, and who knows how they have plotted this basically.
Yeah.
Mm. Wow. Okay. This is unprecedented, but I'm glad that we are able to do this and educate people the best we can, spread the word. Again, I'll leave the link in the description for people to reach out to you or your team. Any other final words of wisdom or hope?
Yeah. Take these developments seriously. Okay. Uh, it's time to understand the days of grace periods and B1, B2s and a slight flexibility after layoffs. Those days are over.
Mm.
Okay. They're over.
Mm.
And it's hard to accept that because the change is so sudden. But as of about a month ago, our world has turned upside down.
Mm.
Okay. So start rethinking and kind of changing your mindset about what your plans are going to be, if there's going to be a layoff for you or job changes. Don't be casual about your status.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
There are going to be grave and severe ramifications to you if you are. Take this very, very seriously.
Yeah. 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 And on that note, I also want to let people know that we have EB1A masterclass or all the talent visas. I mean, EB1A, O1s, and national interest waiver. We're doing a masterclass
Yeah.
next week.
Well, if
So,
this isn't a motivation to kind of put an end to your visa status and get a green card, then I don't know what is.
yeah.
Right. So that's why we're doing that masterclass. There is a way out. Is to get out of the rat race, get off the immigration hamster wheel, and start figuring out how you're going to get yourself a green card through one of the self-sponsored options. It may not be easy. It may take a long time, but I mean, never has it been clear how much it's worth it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what that class is going to be about.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Samir,
Okay.
for this. And we'll talk next week.
Thank you.
Hey, by the way, if you ever need immigration help, whether it is your consultation for a specific situation or filing an H-1B visa because your company doesn't know how to do it, or you are filing for your own company, O1 or EB1A, Samir and his team is amazing. I know this because some of our subscribers have already reached out to them, gotten help from them. So I know they have given good feedback to me. So I know Samir and his team will help you as well. Link will be in the description. He's super kind as well that he wants to provide discount if anybody uses my code UDJ. Again, links are in the description and the details are description. You definitely want to use immigration attorney for special and complicated situations. Of course, the free sessions and the free videos are always available, but in specific situation when you need extra help, make sure that you do consultations or anything that you need immigration lawyers with. Link will be in the description.